Welcome to Gray Matter Reports. Today, we decode the complex reality of events that unfold around us. The screen flickers to life, revealing a desolate urban landscape under the weight of an overcast sky. Shadows stretch across cracked pavement, echoing the loneliness of the individuals who once walked these streets. Within this melancholic tableau lies a paradox, one that intertwines the threads of altruism and the chilling contours of antisocial profiles. Images of ordinary lives flash by, children playing, neighbors greeting each other, strangers sharing brief smiles. Yet beneath these scenes of fleeting connection, a darker undercurrent flows. Empathy, that fundamental human instinct, can at times become a double-edged sword, leading individuals into the depths of moral ambiguity. How does one reconcile these dualities? The answer lies within the human psyche, where altruism and darkness often coexist in unsettling harmony. We glide into a sterile room, its clinical white walls a stark contrast to the turmoil of the outside world. A lone subject sits, eyes cast downward, embodying the very essence of conflict. This individual is a case study, a living contradiction of empathy turned inward, spiraling into isolation. The clinical atmosphere speaks to the cold, hard facts of biological evidence. The brain's wiring, a complex web of neurons misfiring, rendering compassion an alien concept. Yet, within this sterile environment, there is a flicker of humanity. The subject's hands tremble, revealing a struggle beneath the surface. The mind operates like a finely tuned machine, yet it can misinterpret signals, diverting altruistic impulses into pathways of self-preservation. This neurological disarray raises a haunting question. When does the instinct to help transform into a mechanism for self-justification? We zoom into the subject's thoughts, where fragments of memories collide, images of past connections, fleeting moments of kindness, and the stark realization that empathy, once a source of strength, has become a weapon of disconnection. Each recollection is a reminder of a world that once seemed vibrant, now muted by the weight of disillusion. The narrative unfolds, revealing how societal expectations can suffocate genuine altruism, warping it into something unrecognizable. The burden of empathy can morph into a relentless cycle of guilt and despair. In this clinical examination, we explore the paradox of altruism, how the desire to connect can sometimes lead to profound isolation, a chasm where the echoes of compassion fade into silence. As the screen fades to black, the question lingers: when empathy fails, what remains? The answer is complex, woven into the very fabric of human existence, waiting to be unraveled. In the dimly lit room, the air crackled with anticipation. A whiteboard filled with diagrams loomed, a silent witness to the intricate dance of the human mind. Each line, each connection, painted a picture of complexity. Here, we delve into the paradox of altruism, where empathy falters and behavior reveals a stark truth. The subject, an individual marked by a tapestry of contradictions, sat at the center of this inquiry. On the surface, their life was punctuated by acts of kindness, a facade that masked deeper currents of turmoil. Observers often noted their willingness to help others, a tendency that seemed noble. Yet beneath this veneer lay a dissonance, a chasm where empathy failed to bridge the gap between self and other. Psychological assessments revealed a spectrum of traits, ranging from heightened emotional sensitivity to a profound detachment. This juxtaposition created a fertile ground for exploring altruism's darker underbelly. The individual exhibited behaviors that, while seemingly benevolent, often stemmed from a need for validation rather than genuine concern. In this light, altruism morphed into a tool, wielded not for the benefit of others, but as a balm for their own fractured psyche. Biological evidence supported this narrative. Neuroimaging studies showed atypical activation in areas associated with empathy. The amygdala, typically responsive to the emotional states of others, barely flickered in response to stimuli designed to evoke compassion. Here lay the crux of the paradox, a mind capable of understanding suffering, yet devoid of the emotional resonance that drives true altruistic behavior. As the investigation deepened, the implications grew more profound. The subject's history revealed patterns of social interaction that oscillated between generous overtures and calculated withdrawal. Relationships they cultivated as carefully as a gardener tending to delicate blooms, yet these connections often withered under the weight of self-interest. Empathy, in this case, became a performance, a mask worn to deflect scrutiny. The case conclusion approached with a grim clarity. In examining the behavioral profile, one could not ignore the chilling realization that altruism, when stripped of true empathy, devolves into a paradox. The individual's actions, painted with strokes of kindness, became a mirror reflecting their own needs rather than those of others. This exploration illuminated a critical truth. When empathy fails, altruism can transform into a shadow, a reflection of the self rather than a bridge to the collective. In the silence that followed, the complexities of human behavior lingered, an unfinished symphony of motives, intentions, and the haunting echoes of what it means to be truly human. The mind is a labyrinth, each twist and turn echoing with the remnants of empathy lost. Within this intricate maze lies the psychological bridge, a precarious span connecting altruism and the darker recesses of the human psyche. Here, the altruistic desire to help can morph into a paradoxical void where intentions become obscured and empathy falters. An individual, once driven by compassion, may find themselves ensnared in a web of moral ambiguity. The bridge, once a symbol of connection, can transform into a chasm of disconnection. This transformation is not abrupt. It unfolds gradually, like a shadow creeping across the landscape of the mind. In clinical terms, this phenomenon illustrates the duality of the human condition, the capacity for kindness juxtaposed with an inclination towards self-preservation. Consider the case of a subject who, in their formative years, exhibited profound empathy. This individual volunteered, extended kindness, and sought to uplift others. Yet as the years progressed, the very fabric of their altruism began to fray. External pressures, trauma, social isolation, and unmet expectations whittled away at their emotional reservoir. They stood at the edge of the psychological bridge, gazing into the abyss of their own disillusionment. The unsettling truth is that empathy, when stretched beyond its limits, can become a burden, distorting the very impulses that once fueled benevolence. This burden can lead to the creation of an antisocial profile, where the desire to help is overshadowed by a profound sense of helplessness. The psychological bridge becomes a battleground. Altruism contends with the instinct to retreat into solitude, often resulting in profound internal conflict. As the subject grapples with their emotions, they may oscillate between wanting to save others and feeling inadequate, ultimately fostering a sense of alienation. They become a participant in a tragic play, where the audience is left to witness the unraveling of their empathy. Each act of kindness becomes tinged with desperation, as the individual seeks validation in a world that seems indifferent. In the wake of this turmoil, the bridge manifests as both a refuge and a trap. The individual may lash out, becoming a reflection of the very suffering they once sought to alleviate. The paradox of altruism reveals itself. The very essence of compassion can transform into a mechanism of estrangement, isolating the subject from those they wish to help. In this clinical exploration, we uncover a haunting reality. When empathy fails, it does not merely vanish, it transmutes, crafting new narratives of despair. The psychological bridge, once a pathway to connection, now stands as a reminder of the fragility of the human spirit, a somber testament to the complexities of altruism in the face of suffering. In the dimly lit confines of a sterile research facility, data sprawled across screens like a chaotic symphony. Analysts scrutinized the details of an antisocial profile, seeking patterns that seemed to defy human intuition. The paradox of altruism loomed large, a concept often intertwined with the darkest recesses of the human psyche. An individual, once a prodigy of compassion, now presented a conundrum. Their history was laced with moments of remarkable selflessness. Yet the deeper one delved, the more dissonance emerged. This person had turned empathy into a weapon, using it to manipulate the very constructs of kindness. Clinical studies often liken human behavior to a vast ocean, its depths concealing treacherous currents. Like a diver lost in those depths, researchers faced the risk of losing themselves in the murky waters of human emotion. They uncovered biological evidence suggesting that empathy, when unmoored from accountability, could spiral into a dangerous game, one where altruism was merely a mask for deeper, more unsettling motivations. The subject's life was a tapestry woven with threads of care and cruelty. In one instance, they had volunteered at shelters, providing comfort to those in need. Yet in another moment, They orchestrated scenarios that brought about emotional turmoil for personal gratification. This duality created an unsettling dissonance, akin to a haunting melody played out of tune. Psychological evaluations revealed a stark reality. The individual exhibited traits of a profound disconnect, a chasm between intention and action. While they sought to understand others' suffering, they simultaneously reveled in the control it afforded them. The empathy they demonstrated was not a bridge to connection, but rather a facade, a clinical stratagem to navigate social landscapes without genuine investment. The paradox grew more intricate as researchers compiled data. Altruism, typically viewed as a noble pursuit, became a double-edged sword. The subject's acts of kindness served not as an extension of humanity, but as a reflection of their fractured self. As the analysis deepened, the question remained: when does empathy falter? When does the desire to connect morph into a calculated performance? The researchers knew the lines were blurred. The more they explored the depths of this individual's psyche, the more they understood that altruism, when divorced from authenticity, could spiral into a chilling void. In the end, the exploration revealed an unsettling truth. The very essence of human connection, so often celebrated, could become the breeding ground for manipulation. In this deep dive, empathy was not the antidote. It was instead a paradox waiting to be unraveled. In the vast tapestry of human behavior, empathy serves as a double-edged sword. On one side, it fosters connection and understanding. On the other, it can obscure the darker recesses of the human psyche. This paradox becomes particularly evident when examining antisocial profiles across diverse cultures. The global perspective unveils a chilling landscape where altruism becomes a mask for manipulation. In some regions, altruism is an integral part of social fabric. Acts of kindness are celebrated and expected. Yet beneath this veneer lies a troubling reality. Individuals exhibiting traits of antisocial behavior may exploit these cultural norms, twisting them into tools for personal gain. In communities where empathy is lauded, the facade of benevolence can serve as a guise for ulterior motives. The individual becomes both the benefactor and the predator, blurring the lines between compassion and coercion. Biological evidence supports the notion that empathy is not uniformly distributed. Variations in neurochemistry and genetic predispositions create a spectrum of empathetic responses. In some cases, individuals may possess an enhanced capacity for empathy, while others operate with a diminished sense of emotional connection. This neurological dichotomy raises questions about the very foundation of altruism. Is it a learned behavior or an ingrained trait? The answer remains elusive, lost in the intricate dance of genetics and environment. As cultures evolve, so too do the manifestations of altruism and its discontents. In densely populated urban centers, the anonymity of the crowd can dilute empathetic responses. Here, the subject may blend into the background, becoming an observer rather than a participant. The isolation that accompanies urban living can foster a sense of detachment, creating fertile ground for antisocial tendencies to flourish. The individual, once a pillar of community support, may devolve into a self-serving entity, leveraging the fears and vulnerabilities of others. Conversely, in more communal societies, the pressure to conform to altruistic expectations may stifle authentic emotional expression. Individuals may feel compelled to act in ways that align with societal norms, even if those actions conflict with their true selves. This internal conflict can lead to a chilling realization that the very fabric of empathy can be weaponized. When altruism becomes an obligation, the individual's struggle to reconcile personal desires with societal demands can result in a disconnection from authentic empathy. Ultimately, the global perspective reveals a complex interplay between culture, biology, and individual choice. The paradox of altruism in criminal profiles emerges not only from a lack of empathy, but also from the ways in which empathy itself can fail. As we navigate this intricate web, we are reminded that the human heart, while capable of profound compassion, is equally susceptible to manipulation and betrayal. The courtroom buzzed with an electric tension, a palpable weight that settled in the air like a thick fog. The jury, a collective of 12 faces, bore the burden of a decision that rippled far beyond their immediate understanding. It was not merely a verdict on an antisocial profile. it was a reflection of society's struggle with the morality of empathy. As the judge prepared to deliver the final ruling, the atmosphere shifted. Faces turned solemn, eyes darted, seeking clarity in a landscape clouded by conflicting narratives. The prosecution had painted a portrait of an individual who acted with calculated disregard for the societal contract. Yet the defense presented a compelling counter-narrative, one that invoked the complexities of human behavior, suggesting a background steeped in neglect and emotional detachment. In this paradox, empathy faltered. The defense argued that understanding the individual's past, the traumas endured in childhood, could unlock a semblance of compassion. Yet, the prosecution's assertions rang louder, echoing through the minds of those present. Could one truly empathize with a narrative so steeped in chaos? Or did the very act of attempting to understand become a betrayal of those who had suffered? The judge's voice cut through the murmur, steady and measured. Each word was a scalpel, dissecting the layers of the case. The evidence presented has led us to a conclusion. The finality of that statement hung in the air. It was not merely a conclusion regarding the individual's actions, but a reflection of the societal fabric that allowed such behaviors to fester. As the ruling reverberated through the room, a silence descended, thick and suffocating. The implications of the verdict reached beyond the confines of the courtroom, touching upon broader themes of moral responsibility and the limits of altruism. The jury had wrestled with their conscience, navigating between the desire for justice and the instinct to comprehend. In this moment of reckoning, the paradox of altruism crystallized. Empathy had failed to bridge the chasm between the individual's past and the present reality. What does it mean to forgive when understanding leads to complicity? The judge's gavel struck the wooden block, a finality that echoed like a heartbeat in the chamber. Outside, the world continued in its relentless march, unaware of the seismic shift that had just transpired within those four walls. The verdict was not merely a statement on an individual. It was a mirror reflecting society's own moral dilemmas. As the audience dispersed, the lingering question remained: can we truly empathize without compromising our own ethical boundaries?